Cupping coffee is like this mysterious thing that coffee people do that nobody else really knows how to do. But the reality of life is it doesn't need to be that mysterious. Here's what you can do at home. Some people think you need special cupping bowls or cupping spoons and all that kind of stuff. And while that stuff is pretty nice, you can literally use just about any vessel that you've got at home, whether it's a regular glass or even your coffee mug. And let's be honest, if you're cupping coffee, you probably have a coffee mug somewhere. One of the things that is really nice to have and kind of important for cupping coffee is a scale. Preferably one that reads out in tenths of a gram so that you can weigh your coffee properly, but even that's not absolutely necessary. Here's what you do if you're going to be cupping coffee at home. I'm just going to use this plain old rocks glass. Normally there's bourbon in here, but not today, just coffee. What I'm going to do first is put it on my scale. I got to figure out how big the glass is, so I'm going to fill this with water, and I'm going to leave a little bit of room at the top, and this comes out to just about 120 mils of water, 120 grams. So what I like to do is a 17-to-1 ratio, which somewhere around a 17-to-1 ratio of coffee to water when I'm brewing. So if I take 120 divided by 17, that's some number, probably something around 8. So I left a little bit of room at the top of the cup here, so that's going to take a little bit of extra space in there. So what I'm going to do is I am going to first measure out. Wow, that's really hot. Going to put my glass back on there, and I have some nice ground coffee, and I am going to put 8 grams of coffee in my cup. The coffee is ground about the same as a drip coffee pot, so a medium grind. It looks about like a like sand or like coarse salt. So I'm going to put 8 grams of coffee in my cup, and then I'm going to fill the cup the rest of the way up to the top, to the very top in this case, or until the 120 grams that I've got in there. And I am going to wait now for 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Well, that coffee brews just like a French press, and then we'll be back to see what happens next. So our coffee's been brewing for about 4 minutes, and this is the point where there's a nice crust on top of it. This is just like a French press. I'm going to take a spoon. You can use a fancy cupping spoon, like if you've got one like that. This is my favorite cupping spoon that no one else is allowed to touch. But if you don't have a special cupping spoon, just use any old spoon you got. Here's a soup spoon. So you want to break the crust. There's all these nice aromas trapped underneath it. And I'm going to get right down there and take a big old whiff of those and see what smells I get from the coffee. Nice. You might get some nutty smells. Might get some chocolatey smells. That's kind of what I'm getting off of this one. Some coffees have a really bright fruity smell, but see what it is that you smell in there. Once you're done with that, you can scoop the grounds off of the top, put them in another cup somewhere, because we don't want to taste those when we get to the next step, cupping coffee. Scoop off those grounds, and then I'm going to let this coffee sit and cool for another 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, it will have cooled down enough where I'm not going to burn my tongue when I taste it, because tasting coffee with a burned tongue is a bad deal. So we're back. It's been about 5 minutes, and our coffee is cooled to a temperature that we can taste it without having to burn our tongues, because when it's really hot, you just taste hot. You don't taste anything else. So what I like to do with my spoon, and I'm not going to use my cupping spoon here, I'm going to use my regular old soup spoon. Just take a little bit in here and do everything that your grandmother didn't like you to do. I'm going to slurp in the coffee so that it sprays all over the inside of my mouth, so that all of my taste buds are activated, and then I'm going to swish it around in my mouth a little bit to taste it, and then I'm going to take about 3 to 5 seconds after I've swallowed it to pay attention to the aftertaste to give me all of those flavors to see what's in there. So this one has a nice chocolatey note. I can get a little hint of walnut, but really we don't care about that a whole lot. We're just tasting coffee. You might ask yourself, why am I going to do this at home? Why don't I just brew a cup of coffee? A couple of things you can do cupping coffee at home that are kind of interesting. I could take several different coffees, 2 or 3 different coffees from different roasters that are maybe all the same region, and cup all those different coffees and see how they taste different. I could do an experiment with coffee at home and different water and find out how the water affects the coffee. Maybe I have distilled water and my regular tap water and third wave water, where I add a little bit of third wave water in there and get perfect coffee brewing water. Would be a great way to taste what water is doing for your coffee. Taste coffee brewed with your tap water, and then go to the town or region right next door to you and find out if the water is any different over there and how that affects your coffee. There's all sorts of different comparisons and fun things that you can do cupping coffee at home, learning about the flavors that are in it. The important thing to do when you're cupping coffee at home is not to worry about all of the flavor notes and different names of things that you might taste in coffee. The important thing to do when you're cupping coffee at home is to be able to tell if coffee A is different than coffee B, is different than coffee C, and which one I like better, and what I did to make the best one that's on there. That's the thing that you want to learn when you're brewing coffee and you're cupping coffee at home. So have some fun. Let us know in the comments down below if you've cupped coffee at home or if you've cupped coffee someplace else and what you learned from it. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps you serve coffee people love.